from saying that my outfit was really cute to saying I'm an effing idiot. That's so mean.
But I think that your point of view is very obstructed, and I think that you just don't understand the magnitude of having a child.
Yeah, well, I'm not the one who admitted they would be okay with killing babies in foster care and killing children that have been abused.
That's not the point. What I'm saying.
That's really.
You have a channel?
Yeah, we're doing some interviews today.
I love your skin tone too.
Thank you. Such a good vibe.
Of course.
Well, awesome. So we're asking people's opinion today on Planned Parenthood. Are you familiar with them?
Yes.
Okay. And do you know what they provide?
Yes. Abortions.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Safe abortions.
Okay.
Yes.
Do you know any other services that they provide?
I know, like, to teens, if you're under 18, you could get like birth control, condoms, counseling. They offer a lot of, beneficial things that the youth really should use right now.
Okay. So you have a pretty positive view of Planned Parenthood.
I mean, majority. I don't know. Is this like a yes or no? Am I wrong?
It's your opinion.
But that is definitely my opinion. I feel like, especially as teens, people get caught up in things that they really don't want to commit to for their entire lives. So, if you get caught up with the wrong guy, you think you're in love, and then, boop, now you stuck. Not stuck, but you're stuck with a baby for the rest of this time, literally the rest of their lives and your life, if you're that kind of mother, because some women just don't have it in them and they abandon them and abuse them and all kind of shit. And it's like, girl, just get rid of it if you know you're gonna do that.
Get rid of them. Why not just give them to another family? That's good.
No, but exactly, even that, and that's another option that Planned Parenthood offers. So it's like, if you know that you are not the being who can provide for this child, then there are alternative options out there for you. So I definitely understand why people do abort children. Don't have babies that you don't want. Don't have babies that men are telling you in front of your face that they do not want. I wish them would stop doing that. Like, it's like a plan to.
Why don't they just stop having sex with people they don't want to have a child with?
That too. To me, it's always pro-choice, your body, your life, because that baby is gonna be a baby.
It's a baby.
Yeah, and you're gonna have that baby
person.
forever. So yeah.
Well, do you know that Planned Parenthood gets nearly $700 million of our taxpayer money every year?
$700 million. I mean, honestly, I can't go against Planned Parenthood. I just
be leaders ourselves.
Black women are being used by the Democrat Party.
All of these socioeconomic indicators are in the negative, particularly for black people.
They want mob rule. When Trump was in office, please somebody tell me, what act of dictatorship did he perform?
She has Donald Trump's hair on top of her head. And she's sitting here talking about brown girl this, brown girl that.
Because she's a black woman.
They would ask her how to spell her first name and clap like sea monkeys.
Oh, yeah.
Whoa.
What is up, everybody? It is Monday. This is our Monday Night Live, and it's time for Pop and Politics. I'm KJ. Let me introduce you to my co-hosts. Of course, we have Nicole Bennett. We have Shelly E. And it's Monday, so back with us tonight is Tyrone Keys from Soldiers of Finance right here on YouTube. How are you all doing tonight?
Very good.
Good.
Doing well.
Doing great.
All right. We have so much to talk to you guys. A little bit, I am actually going to bring up Savannah Craven. That's who you saw in the beginning of the episode of tonight's show. We have her here tonight to let us know the latest as to what is going on with this the assault against her. Oh, we already have her up. Okay. Well, before we get into that, folks, do me a favor, tap that thumbs up and subscribe. We're here on YouTube and Rumble. You can listen to us on Apple Podcast or Spotify under the name Pop and Politics. We love our chat. We shout out all of our super chats. So it's the best way to get your voice heard in the conversation and to show your love for conservative content. All right. And this is not just a podcast. This is a movement of God-fearing, truth-seeking, America-loving people that value freedom. Stand with us and subscribe so we can amplify this rallying call for freedom. All right, everybody, let's set it off. How are you doing tonight, Savannah?
Doing well. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. We had to have you on. So as I mentioned, and as you guys saw at the top of the show, and we talked about this on Friday, Savannah was assaulted in New York City while doing a man on the street conversation. She's a pro-life activist and was doing, it looked like a man on the street about the pro-life movement. So I want to get into exactly what occurred and the outcome of it. Now, you guys saw the video we showed in the beginning. There is another half of that. Take a look at this half.
Abortions are going up. So they used to have this slogan where they said safe, legal, and rare. That's what we want. Safe, legal, and rare abortions, until it was exposed that a lot of these facilities were requiring abortion quotas. So the more abortions each facility did, the more like praise that they would get. They would get awards. And so it's really interesting. That doesn't really make it seem like they want safe, legal, and rare abortions.
How many people can you think, or are you going to assume, would literally abandon their children with no repercussions from the state?
No, it's called safe haven baby boxes, where at a fire station or hospital, you can leave your baby and the mother doesn't have to do anything with it. But that's better than killing her baby through abortion, right?
No, ma'am.
It's not better to give your baby up to a family who wants them instead of killing them?
No, ma'am. I have seen so many stories and countless, literally, like countless stories.
What happens in an abortion?
They literally suck the life out of you. They're gonna take the whole baby out, and as they should, because I shouldn't be a taxpayer paying child support and food stamps and WIC for
you
women
should be a
who never
taxpayer
wanted the
paying
baby.
for abortions?
Exactly. But as for a woman who didn't want the baby in the first place, that doesn't make sense to me. Don't ever sit here and lock yourself down with a man who already told you he doesn't want to be with you. He doesn't. I
agree with you.
I'm not disagreeing with you either. I understand.
You don't get to kill the baby just because their dad didn't want them.
You can.
Should we kill the kids in foster care? And
why not? Why not? If that's the case,
we should kill the kids in foster care that aren't wanted.
Who's going to take care of them? I need to know the percentage of people who take children from foster care and abuse them and molest them, who make them like personal slaves.
We should just kill them.
Statistics before you come to me talking about pro-life.
We should kill the victims of molestation.
I think, what does this have to do with molestation?
You just mentioned people molesting children. We should kill the kids in foster care is what you said.
What I'm saying is, in general, overall, if I don't want to have a baby, I should have the choice to.
Just don't have sex then. Just don't have sex.
That's not even logical.
It is.
Who are you, Nancy?
I sound down.
Wow. So that's when she kind of turned, I thought. That second half, when you started talking about molestation and killing the baby, I could kind of see where she turned, where it was starting to get aggressive. Is that what you felt, Savannah? What were your thoughts there?
Yes. So I go out on the street and interview people like this every week. And there's always, maybe a little bit of a buildup to the person getting more aggravated as I continue to make them double down on what they're really believing in and agreeing with. And sometimes when they get caught up in saying something that sounds really insane, instead of just kind of backing it up and being like, no, this is really what I mean, they just try to justify it by getting angrier or just saying something totally insane, like that we should kill babies in foster care that might be abused or that have been abused as a solution to their suffering. But I never had the thought that she was going to lay a hand on me. I've had men spit at me. I've had people tell me that I should be R-worded. I mean, everything in the book I've been called, but I've never had somebody try to kill me, which is what I felt like she tried to do.
Wow. So what's going on now with it? So have charges been pressed? I know she has been identified, correct?
She identified herself. She put a very, I would say, and other people have said this, a very fake apology up online on her Facebook page. And she, said, yeah, like that's me, totally admitted it. And I am going to press charges to the fullest extent of the law. Right now, there is, I believe there's a warrant out for her arrest. The police told me that they're looking for her. She's also been to jail before. I'm not sure what for, but this is something that's nothing new. But this happened simply because I'm just trying to change hearts and minds on abortion. I care about Black lives because Black lives are being torn apart. They are being ended before babies are even born. Okay, we have a genocide going on in the womb. Want to talk about Black Lives Matter? Black Lives Matter. You need to be anti-abortion then. Women like Margaret Sanger, who founded Planned Parenthood, looked at us like weeds, like we were worthless. We should be put away from society and that we shouldn't exist. She didn't want Black people to reproduce. So if you want to call yourself pro-Black, you should look into the abortion industry.
Yeah, absolutely. And that was what, as you mentioned, she's online there. That is the nasty, demonic woman that assaulted Savannah. She has a GoFundMe. We're not going to post, of course, not the link, but there she is. And then this is what Savannah was mentioning that she said. We have that too. It's photo 2. I am Brianna Rivers. This Thursday, I was asked to partake in an interview with Savannah Craven, who, unbeknownst to me, was a pro-life advocate. Our initial interaction was genuine and friendly until I stood in support of Planned Parenthood services. That's when her true motives shined through. She rage baited me, whatever that means, and antagonized me, anticipating a harsh reaction. This viral moment has altered my life for the worse. Despite my being apologetic, she has sent her supporters on a witch hunt to find me. I hope they do. And I'm receiving death threats, being cyberbullied, threatened, and body shamed. Well, you look like that, so that's why you body shamed. Not only by her, but her thousands of followers. These people have made my personal information public. I've had strangers come to my door, step in regards in this incident, and I am fearful for my safety and safety of my family. I am seeking financial assistance to hire professional counsel. Put her under the jail. All right, Shelley, what are your thoughts on this?
Savannah, of course, like many people, I'm glad you are ultimately going to be okay. But I actually have a slightly addendum to what KJ said. When I watched it again and several times, I actually think she planned on doing that. Because she came up to the camera, she was too animated. She was excited just about being on camera. And in that statement that she wrote, her apology, you did ask her, or she asked you, I can't remember, it was mentioned that you were talking about Planned Parenthood. So to say that she didn't know, of course we know that's a lie. But so I think she planned on doing something, to have that notoriety, if you will. So in that sense, I would like to ask you, going forward, are you planning on getting or having a little bit more security? Or I would say security, yeah.
Absolutely. I will no longer be going out in these areas, anywhere really, without security. This story has blown up bigger than I ever imagined it would. This has gotten international coverage. And I'm now somebody who's going to be recognized, which is not something that I've been super used to in the past, especially since half of the internet hates me and wish that more would have happened to me, or wish that something else would happen to me. It's horrifying how many people are justifying violence for just simply challenging an opinion. So yes, I'll be going out with big, strong, conservative men.
Good. Yeah, Nicole, what was your thoughts here or question?
Well, that's the way you do it, Savannah. Don't go out by yourself. Take your brothers with you, right? There are usually people, when we go out usually in groups of 10 or 12, and we kind of stay in the same vicinity just for safety's sake. But with that said, one of the things I found most interesting about her pseudo apology was the way that she described that she's being treated and the way that she feels. Almost like someone accosted her on a street corner while she was out asking questions. So what is your advice to young activists who want to get out there, who want to talk to people on the street, maybe catch that viral moment without being accosted? Can you give them some helpful hints on when that tide turns and what to do in that case?
Yes. Well, I would just say, safety is the best policy. Always protect yourself. Don't think like me that just because I'm used to being in Harlem and I'm very familiar with the neighborhood that I knew what was going to happen or what wasn't going to happen. I mean, these people, as you can see, can snap in a matter of a second. But this in no way is going to make me scared to go out and continue to talk to these people and interview them and exposing, the reality of the abortion industry and sharing it with others. We must educate. We must do it to change lives and to save babies and women from the harms of abortion. And so I would just say that start simply. You don't have to go out and start talking to people in Harlem like I do. But you can start with going to your local abortion facility and praying, volunteering at your local pregnancy center, speaking out online against abortion, and educating your children on it, because the abortion industry thrives on women's fear and vulnerability, and they target ages 15 to 25. That is their main people that they want to have come in and abort their child.
Yeah, before I get you in here, Tyrone, we do have some super chatters. Thank you all so much. All right, let's take a look here. We have Kung Fu CJ. Thank you so much. He says, okay, let's get it, with the $2 super chat. Here he is again. Savannah triggered the demon inside of her. Exactly. Oh, Kimberly with the $5 super chat. Thank you so much. She says the nerve of her to spin this onto Savannah. Absolutely. But this is what the left does. They always play the victim in any and everything. Tyrone, what are your thoughts here or questions for Savannah?
Well, I'm definitely happy that it didn't, become a more severe encounter, because as we've seen, especially over the last few weeks, the left is violent, and they have expressed their desire to do some pretty permanent things to anybody who opposes them, pretty much. I think that this is another example of how the left, when faced with ideas they can't process, instead of just saying, all right, you've given me something to think about, I'll go and process it a little further, straight into primate mode, and, start to engage in violence. So it's an unfortunate circumstance that we find ourselves in, but it also begs the question, how do you engage in politics with a mindset, a hive mindset like that? Because that's not about consensus in any way, shape, or form. You can't tell me that that woman understands the concepts of compromise, debate, or critical thought.
Absolutely. Well, we just have to get back to what abortion really is. I mean, when we're talking about abortion, which is mainly what I go out and ask about on these streets, is once they start to get off track, you can see in the full video that's now uploaded on Live Action's YouTube, we posted the full unedited clip. So for anyone who says I cut anything, it's up there. You can see exactly what happened. She started, getting off topic, mentioning things about Donald Trump and Elon Musk and how awful the cops are. And they always want to talk about every other world issue, and that pro-lifers should be focusing on fixing those before they worry about children not being dismembered in an abortion. And it's like we're the only group of people that needs to fix every single issue in order to speak out against one issue. It's very, very strange, but it's kind of just the thought process of many pro-abortion supporters. But we have to just get back to what are the preborn. If the preborn are just simply a clump of cells, then no justification for abortion is needed. But if the preborn are human beings, then no justification for abortion exists. There's no justification for it. And that is just what we have to get back to, because they love to go off the topic. They love to ramble on about other issues in the world. And yes, we recognize that there are other issues. There are issues with the foster care system. There are issues with the adoption industry. We don't fix systems by killing and punishing the victims of it.
Yep.
Right.
Agreed.
We have a super chatter here. Narasa Sue 813 with the $5 super chat says the hammer of justice is coming for all those who corrupt to the highest level. Thank you so much. Thank you. We certainly appreciate it. And folks, please hit that like button while you're here. It does help this channel, helps to get us out there to amplify our voice. So please hit that like button. I have a question. So I think all of us have done some type of either street work or advocacy for the pro-life movement. I don't think, at least for me personally, I have not done probably as much as you have, Savannah. And so I'm wondering, the reaction that you got from this nut, is this par for the course? Is this a sort of like the general reaction that you get? So not so much the violence, but just the part where she was just unhinged, just talking about unaliving foster kids and, talking about, with the child support system, she said, and just going off on a tangent about really there was no value of life at all. Is this the response you get from a lot of these leftists?
Yes. I mean, when we look at the left, half of them don't even know what their gender is. They're confused on their identity. They don't care about other people because they don't find value in themselves. So how in the world could they see value of an innocent preborn child that they can't even see? Okay, this is the reality of it. They refuse to see what abortion for what it really is. They say it's propaganda. There are amazing groups out there that show abortion victim imagery out there in the streets, because just like with the story of Emmett Till, sometimes for people, seeing is believing. We have to show what abortion really does to women and children. But as for going out there and just exposing it to these people, the minute that they are challenged on their opinion or what they're saying, or as soon as I start to ask clarifying questions, that's when they either start looking around for help. They start, wondering someone's going to come to the rescue. And it's like, no, actually sit here and have a conversation with me. And if you don't know what to say, that's fine. I don't expect everybody in the world that I interview to know everything about everything. That's why I'm out there to spread a little bit of truth and just spark that conversation, because the left is so used to not having their views questioned. They're just like, oh, there's 40,000 genders. Yeah, okay, that's your opinion. It's like, no, let's unpack that a little bit. Let's talk about it. Is a baby in the womb a parasite? Let's just talk about it. Let's not just say it. Let's talk about the facts. And they're also the party of science, yet they deny that a baby in the womb is a human being.
Yep. Yeah. So, Savannah, my last thought, I guess, is that I have been a volunteer at a crisis pregnancy center for about 3 years. I did it. And so I also love talking to people on the street. Right. So one of the things that I find, that I would say we found, is that usually when the women would come to the center or they would call, we had that one-on-one with them, right? Of course, there were no cameras, right? So they can't necessarily act. But I do say that, I would say to KJ's point, I think we had, I would say, much more success in at least getting the women to think about what they're doing, if not totally coming to like an aha moment. Many times, women have told us that they just didn't know, honestly, that they didn't know, quote unquote, the science, like we are presenting it to them. So in that sense, I understand. I love talking to people on the street. I would just, if I could offer you any advice, if you will, is that don't expect, at least on the street in that particular arena, don't expect a turnaround. You're gonna probably get that pushback. So just to be on guard for that.
Absolutely. Sometimes all I'm doing is planting a seed. I mean, that's my goal. Mm-hmm. My goal is not to always change someone's mind, make them think like me, but I also want to understand these people's thought processes. I recently just went out to a Trans Day of Visibility march, and I wanted to understand why these people are out here, why they claim that trans people are disappearing since Trump came into office, that trans people can no longer exist or be themselves because Trump is in office. They actually believe these things, that people can't be themselves, that our country is so far away from equality, when If you say you were transgender somewhere in the Middle East,
not for long.
I don't have to say much.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And honestly, I think I agree with Shelley that I don't think the majority of people's minds are going to be changed, like with these man on the street interviews. We're here in Baltimore City, so similar to New York City, we encounter a lot of nuts, and generally, we find that it's very confrontational, and we're not going to change minds necessarily, at least for the most of the people that we encounter, but I think it is important for us as content creators, as people who bring this out to the masses. A lot of people, even on the left, maybe not meet us on the man on the streets, but do not understand that there is a radical demonic element on the left within the Democrat Party that choose violence, that are just unhinged. I don't think as many people as we realize know about these Breonna Rivers out there. Mm-hmm. They think that we just disagree and then that's it. So we do a great service to getting this out. And this is why this is important, to continue to share this broadcast, share Savannah's, video, share on your social media, in the DMs, with families, with friends. Because our Democrat friends or family members do not understand how nutty these people are. And I think that's, more important, especially on the street interviews, than changing minds, really. Because again, we encounter the nuttiest of nuts out there on the street. But the ones who come back on YouTube or Facebook or Instagram and watch this stuff, they're like, oh my God, I had no idea. I had no idea people felt this way. And I think that's what helps to change the people's minds that are at least a little bit more rational. Right. One thing I want to ask you, though, is and I think you mentioned it a little bit in the beginning, what happens now? Is she going to get charges pressed? Is she going to be arrested? Is she arrested?
Or is she going to be hauled up and put in the zoo?
Yeah.
Well, I don't know about that, but hopefully she will be arrested. Justice needs to be served. This was absolutely uncalled for. There's just no reason for it. And so I've gotten word from the police that a warrant should be sent out for her arrest and that they're looking for her. I have no update as of now, unfortunately, but we just got to keep praying.
Yes, lock her up. Lock her up.
Yes. And I don't know if I mentioned, but she's been to jail before, so this is no new experience for her.
Send her again.
Do you know how old she is? About how old she is, Savannah?
I believe she's 30.
Oh wow! Oh wow! Well, and when you say she's been to jail before, was it about something like this, or was something separate?
The police could not tell me.
Okay.
But I'm sure if we asked the internet, they could find out because they found her. So
yes, right. So you can go on the public records and look it up.
Yeah. Right, that's true. One question our producer has before. Well, let me acknowledge our super chatters here. Oh, thank you guys so much. We certainly appreciate you guys, and please hit that like button and share. All right, so Draco with the $5 super chat says Psalms 23:4. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for thou art with me. Amen. Draco. Yes, folks, for all of our Christians out there, all of our Bible believing folks that watch, please keep Savannah and all of the pro-life warriors and people that do these man on the streets that are out here on the front lines in your prayers. And your prayers, lift their names up in prayer for protection. We are fighting against a spiritual warfare, folks. We all know this. We say it all the time, and we need prayer. So we know that God is able to protect us and watch over us. He certainly was watching over Savannah that day. So please continue to keep her lifted up in prayer. All right, we have another super chatter here with a $10 super chat. Yes, Red Buck says, bravo to Savannah for trying to make this world a more like well place. A special thank you to the Pop Ladies and Tyrone too. Thank you so much, Red Buck.
And you too, Tyrone.
Yes, our producer had a question here. He says, should more men be on the front lines of the pro-life movement? And that's a good question.
Absolutely. We need as many people out there as possible. I mean, to me, there's nothing more attractive than a man standing up for innocent life. I mean, men are supposed to be protecting the most vulnerable of our society. And the other side loves to say that, no uterus, no opinion. You can't have an opinion on abortion. It's none of your business. But then get mad when the man doesn't want to lock in and take responsibility for his actions. It's like, well, of course he's not going to, because you've said that it's not his choice. So it's like, the feminist movement just doesn't add up to me.
Right. Exactly. So, and I know I asked you before the show started, but last question for me is, how are you doing? What was exactly the injuries that you sustained, and how are you coping physically and mentally?
Yes, I got my eyebrow split open. As you guys can see, I have a bandage on it, and I have a black eye and a big bruise here, which is healing. But I had to get 2 stitches. I was bleeding all over the ground, and it was horrific. I kind of felt like one of those little cartoon characters with the stars going around their head. When I didn't get knocked out, didn't fall to the ground, thank goodness, because it was concrete. That would have been horrible. But I was able to catch myself, and I was fully aware of everything that happened. I couldn't believe it, again, because I didn't see it coming. And it's just a shame, but it's just consistent. When I go out there and then I reveal myself that I don't exactly agree with everything they believe in, sometimes I even have to go undercover at some of these events so that people will even just talk to me.
Right.
Yeah.
And so you're primarily in New York City, or do you go all over the country?
Yes. Well, I try to go all over the country as much as I can, but I do live in the city. So this is most of the time where I'm filming. It's a great place for content, as the left is doing a march about something about every other day.
Wow. Okay. And Nicole, I think you had something there.
Yes. So Savannah, I'm so very sorry that you were assaulted. That's a terrible thing to have happen. It's horrible that it happened on video and the world is watching it over and over and over again. But I'm a big believer that God gives us beauty for our ashes. And look at you now. Look at your story. Look at what you're doing for the movement. You've pushed it forward. So yeah, you've got a couple of stitches, and your black eye kind of looks like eyeshadow a little bit. Like just do the other eye, right? It just kind of
really does. Just put some more on the other side.
Just put some on the other side. Fine. But it has given you a much bigger platform to bring the absolute truth about what happens at conception. And I think it's a wonderful thing and could not have happened to a nicer girl.
Thank you. I'm so blessed. Over, 10 million people have had to think about abortion and think twice about it. And what a blessing it is to shed blood for Christ. That's all I can say.
Amen.
Wow. So it sounds like you are undeterred. You're going to continue doing this, continue fighting for babies in the womb. What do you say to the left? What do you say to people that have been flooding your email, your, social media, with unhinged comments, thinking that you have backed down against this? What do you say to them? And then how are you moving forward?
Well, I'm from the South, so my mama always said to just say, bless your heart. So that's all I have to say to them. But moving forward, you're going to see a lot more content from me. I already have been back out on the streets, went to a Doge protest the other day, an anti-Elon Musk, and got some really great content. Ran into a Planned Parenthood board member. So I'm looking forward to posting that content very soon. And yeah, you'll see more content from me very, very soon.
Okay.
Wow. Well,
I love New Yorkers.
That's what I was about to say.
I love New Yorkers. So you have a place in my heart, and you will be in my prayers. And I wish you well.
Absolutely. And I was going to say, I can tell you are from the South, because here you're on the panel with a bunch of East Coast ladies. And let me tell you, we talked about this on Friday. I would have George Floyd that girl. She would have been sitting underneath my knee until the police got there. Oh my goodness gracious. I got hot when I first saw that video. Heat just came up all over my body. Yeah.
Every time I see it, it makes me angry.
It does. It really does. It really does.
It really does. It really does. So finally, Savannah, where can people find you? Where can people support your work, your content? Please share with the audience.
Absolutely. So my YouTube, which is growing very fast, is Her Patriot Voice, hoping to feature some more strong, independent female creators very, very soon on there. And then my Instagram is at Savannah A. Craven. And I also have a Give, Send, Go that's set up that you can find the link to on all of my social media platforms, trying to pay for these medical bills and the legal expenses that are coming very, very soon. So hoping that we get justice. That's the main thing.
Absolutely. We have another super chat here. Allie7 says, Savannah, you are doing God's work and he will be your vindicator in this situation. Amen, Allie. Yes, indeed. Well, thank you so much for chatting with us tonight, Savannah. We got to have you back on. And I do pray that this woman is arrested and that God's justice be served.
Absolutely. Amen. Thank you all
so
much.
I want to hold like cattle.
Yes. All right. All right. We'll see you again, Savannah. Thank you.
God bless you.
All right, folks. Well, we had to have her on, and my goodness, people are nuts. I mean, just to even think to just haul off and hit that girl for just disagreement, you just disagree. All that Brianna had to do was walk away. You don't agree, you just walk away. But hopefully she's arrested and charges are pressed against her, and she really serves. I hope she serves some time. I really do. But as you said, Tyrone, we're talking about New York City, so we'll see.
Yeah, little Alvin Bragg he just might as well come after Savannah, just like he did the guy who shot who defended the store owner.
Daniel Penny.
Don't be surprised. Alvin Bragg might come in and come after Savannah. Who knows?
Yeah, you're absolutely right. You are absolutely right.
That Give, Send, Go may come in handy for her too. Yeah.
Yes, we will post the link to that also. We will post the link to that so you guys if God puts it in your heart and you have the means to give some money to that Go, Send, Go. So yes, indeed. All right, folks. So again, if you are enjoying our content and you really believe in truth, you believe in the pro-life movement, please hit that like button and subscribe to our channel. We also have merch here. You can go to our website at www.popandpoliticslive.com. Yes, and /shop. And there you can support us. You can also, I like where, you can wear a message with your shirt or your mug or your sweatshirt or your hoodie. That's always cool. Positive message. Who can get upset about that? Not black, not white. We are American. Don't let them divide us. So those are the types of things you can find on our website. It's really cool, especially as the summer is coming up. It's a conversation starter about how we want to unite. We don't want to divide. And so definitely check us out. Again, that's popandpoliticslive.com /shop. All right. So next we are talking about, of course, the tariffs. Folks, people are losing it over these tariffs, not just on the left, but as President Trump has been talking about, there are Republicans that seem to be wavering in support of the president's agenda with these tariffs. And he's actually named them Republicans, Panic-Republicans, I think, or something like that. He called them, President Trump with his names. And so we got to talk about this. Take a look here. First, this is clip 3.
We should note, again, and you and I have said this in the air many times, there is no evidence that Joe Biden was, involved in any wrongdoing.
Of course, I want to note that there is no evidence that Joe Biden or Hunter Biden has done anything wrong. I just want to reiterate.
And let's be clear for the viewers.
There is no evidence Biden did anything wrong.
Governor, you got a second?
Literally talking to the president right now to specifically answer the question of what we can do for you and your daughter.
Can I hear it? Can I hear your call? Because I don't believe it.
This is why independent media is so important. Thanks to people like you, patriots who love America and stand for truth, we're making a difference. Together, we've turned them off, called them out for their lies and propaganda, and held them accountable for their disdain for God-fearing, freedom-loving Americans like us. But we can't stop here. It's time to take action with our dollars. Let's make 2025 the year we double down on our commitment to values-driven choices. Vote with your dollars. Support Made in America. Back companies that honor our families, faith, and country. We found an exciting way to make this switch, and we want you to join us. Check out www.popandswitch.com and click Yes, I want to make the switch. It's that easy. It's time to walk away from corporations like BlackRock and Vanguard that undermine our principles. Let's invest in America. Let's support businesses that share our love for this country. You don't have to take on everything at once, but you can start here. Join us in making this one small yet powerful step. Visit www.popandswitch.com. Click the link and schedule a call with our team to learn how you can make the switch. Together, we can create real change.
What's up, guys? This is Giovanni, co-founder of Metro Conservative Media. We are the definitive home for the urban conservative. You think you got what it takes? Go to metroconservativemedia.com and click Join the Movement now.
I got a report from the USTR last night that more than 50 countries have reached out to the president to begin a negotiation. But they're doing that because they understand that they bear a lot of the tariff. And so I don't think that you're going to see a big effect on the consumer in the U.S. because I do think that the reason why we have a persistent long-run trade deficit is these people have very inelastic supply. They've been dumping goods into the country in order to create jobs, say, in China.
All right. So we, of course, before we get into this, I do want to, we have Phil Bell here joining us.
Hey.
So, yes, indeed. Phil Bell is one half of the host on the All American Talk Show right here on YouTube. So this is on the Metro Conservative Media platform. This is part of our platform here. Thank you for joining us tonight, Phil.
Well, KJ, thank you for having me on, and thanks to everybody else, all the great panelists here. First of all, I got to say, we are so excited at the All-American Talk Show to be part of Metro Conservative Media, being a sister show to Pop in Politics. So this is awesome, and I'm just happy to be here. And of course, you know what? I'm the leader of the regime, so I got my hat on.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. And folks, if you haven't done so already, you gotta, once you finish watching tonight, go over to the All American Talk Show. It's at All American Talk right here on YouTube, and subscribe. One big reason is Shelly E is going to be on there tomorrow. So they go live tomorrow. That's Tuesday at 6:30 p.m. Shelly is going to be on there. So you got to watch. You got to take a look. It's going to be fireworks tomorrow. So you got to watch. All right.
We're going to have a good time, Phil.
Yes, we are. Looking forward to it.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. All right, so let's get into these tariffs. So as you said earlier, what actually happened today is what I want to know. You know, we heard everything that the leftist media, mainstream media had said. This was supposed to be Black Monday. Right. Everything was going down. I mean, we were on our way into a recession. The markets were going to be terrible today. I want to start off with you, Tyrone. What happened?
Nothing. The market was pretty much flat. Okay. Down exactly 11 points and change. But look, what happened over the weekend is a lot of countries started picking up the phone and saying, okay, you know what, guys, we've had a good ride. All right. We've pulled this sham for many, many years. And now they want to negotiate. So since America is the largest consumer market in the whole world, we need to make things happen. America's $18 trillion consumer economy. The closest competitor is China at 6.5 trillion. Okay. France is about 1.7 trillion. Okay. And yet and still, Macron called his business leaders together and said he wanted them to boycott America, and they told him where he could go, because it just doesn't make any logical sense for anyone responsible for employees, customers, and share owners to avoid the world's largest market. So we'll be just fine. We'll be better than fine. And it looks like it's not even going to take as long as initially anticipated.
Wow. Yeah. Yeah. And we have some super chatters here. So let's see here. Kung Fu CJ says, please put it in the chat. Oh, yes. Tomorrow is going to be fireworks, 6:30, All American Talk. We're going to have we're going to link their that YouTube page here in a moment. So we'll put that in the chat for you, Kung Fu CJ, and the rest of you guys. Shelly E will be on the All American Talk Show with Phil Bell tomorrow at 6:30 p.m. Make sure you hit the notification bell on that channel, All American Talk, so you guys know when they go live. All right, Mama Joe loves with the $5 super chat says, Psalms 139, 13 through 16, for you formed my inward parts. You covered me in my mother's womb. I will praise you, for I am fearfully and wonderfully made. Absolutely. Amen. Amen. And she is talking about babies in the womb. Yes, indeed, to our previous segment. So we totally agree there. We also have, yes. Okay. That's all right. Okay. That's what we thought today was going to be doomsday. And before we go deeper into this, I want to bring up Morning Joe. So again, they have been part of this doomsday talk. They have been part of this, again, leading this narrative that the Trump tariffs were going to be awful for the American people. But remember when he also told us that Biden was A-OK. I want you guys to take a look at this next clip. This is a clip.
But comparing that guy's mental state, I've said it for years now, he's cogent. But I undersold him when I said he was cogent. He's far beyond cogent. In fact, I think he's better than he's ever been. Intellectually, analytically, because he's been around for 50 years. And, I don't know if people knew this or not, Biden used to be a hothead. Sometimes that Irishman would get in front of the reasoning. Sometimes he would say things he didn't want to say. This is, and I don't really, I don't really care. Start your tape right now, because I'm about to tell you the truth. And F you if you can't handle the truth. This version of Biden, intellectually, analytically, is the best Biden ever. Not a close second. And I've known him for years. The Brzezinskis have known him for 50 years. If it weren't the truth, I wouldn't say it. And you.
Okay. So we know that
he doesn't even realize, he's so stupid. He doesn't even realize how much he just insulted Biden.
Yeah.
Yes. I want to get Phil in on this though, because on the All American Talk Show, you guys have been fact checking Morning Joe for quite some time, and it's pretty. You call him Moaning Joe, is that correct?
Moaning Joe, that's right. Yep, and you could also call him Morning Joke, because that's really what it is. I mean, you've got to really. A lot of people in the U.S. Most of us do not have a lot of experience with open propaganda, right? Because we didn't live in communist countries. We didn't live in crazy places like North Korea. But now you are seeing exactly what it is. And what's really crazy is I remember when I was much younger, I hate to say it because I don't feel like I'm old, but when I was much younger, I remember when Joe Scarborough was funny, he was engaging, he was conservative, and it's almost like, I don't know what happened, if it was like the movie Get Out, that Mika went and like sucked his brain out and put it somewhere else, because whatever is walking around in there now is completely different from the Morning Joe that I remember, because Joe Scarborough never would have been a propagandist for anybody, let alone joke also Biden.
Yeah. But this is what they do, and they're doing it again. The whole media complex has gotten together and told us without any type of opposition or any type of variance in the narrative that these tariffs are the worst thing ever. Shelley, what's your response to all of this?
Well, let me tell you what I did. Last week, we know the market was really, really low, right? So after I got over my little initial, oh my gosh, I said, oh, you know what? I don't look at my, stocks or whatever. I don't look at them. I'm not a stock watcher. But you know what I did? I went and purchased some Tesla stock in a new Coach bag. That's what I did. I wanted to show my American spirit. That's what I did. So I purchased, if you will, from 2 American companies. So that way I can say, you know what? It's going to do what it's going to do, and it's going to come back. That's number one. Number two, these people on the left, this media propaganda machine, Democratic leftist propaganda machine, all they want to do is instill fear, and fear. They want the American people, they want America to fail, much less President Trump and the American people, which is really what they're rooting for. They should be telling people, okay, I think like Tyrone said, for 30 plus years, America has been literally carrying every other country. And in the one weekend, after everybody gets over the panic, one weekend, almost damn near Asia is saying, hold up, President Trump, wait a minute, don't write us off yet. From India to Thailand, I think Malaysia, Cambodia, Vietnam, just about all of Asia, right? So these people, these countries are realizing that, you know what? It's not such a bad thing if we have reciprocal. We can't have it all. And certainly we can't do without the United States. So they are coming to their senses. Our market is going to come back. It's going to go back up, like Tyrone said, better than ever. And I'm not talking about wishful thinking. I'm talking about history, historical trends. And Tyrone and Phil can speak to that much better than I can.
Yeah. Nicole, I mean, why would anyone still believe many of them in the mainstream media after we saw what they did with COVID and we found out many of it was misinformation, disinformation, and lies? And as you just saw on Morning Joe, or as they call it on All American Talk Show with Phil, Moaning Joe, why would anyone believe them? We just saw Joe Scarborough say that pretty much Biden was like the smartest man in government, in leadership. And we saw what he really was after dropping out of the race. And we actually saw it before. Why are people believing this media?
Listen, there are some people who have a steady drip of this. It's on 24/7. They watch it in the morning. They watch it in the afternoon. They double down on it on their socials. The algorithm feeds it to them. And it becomes more than propaganda. It becomes their church. It becomes their religion. So they parrot the things that they hear. If we venture back to the last segment, the girl who attacked Savannah was spouting Democrat talking points left and right. You know, she didn't come up with those points. She heard it over and over again. So they drill down on the American psyche and say, if we beat them hard enough and all of us say the same thing, it will become truth. And it's not, but you believe it is because you've heard it a lot of times. The best thing that he said, and I'm hard pressed to agree with Joe Scarborough and much of anything, but the one thing he did say was that Joe Biden was at his best, demented, couldn't walk up the steps, chased by a big bunny at the Easter egg roll.
That's right.
At his very best. And he was right. He's an absolute, abject failure as a president. By any metric. And Joe Scarborough should be ashamed of himself for what he's done to the American people.
Absolutely. Tyrone, I want to get your response to this next clip. Again, they have been painting doomsday, folks. This is clip 8. This is CNBC Kramer talking about what today was supposed to be. Clip 8.
The president doesn't try to reach out and reward these countries and companies that play by the rules in the 1987 scenario. The one where we went down 3 days and then down 22% on Monday has the most cogency. We will not have to wait out too long, will we? We'll know by Monday. Fortunately, we had an excellent set of employment numbers today. At least it makes it less likely a crash will necessarily lead to a recession. But if President Trump stays intransigent and does nothing to ameliorate the damage that I saw these last 2 days, I'm not going to be constructive here. I will contain my anger, but only because I lived through 87, and in the end, I came out okay. I was in cash for the crash. I know what this feels like. Oh, and if Europe moves against our fabulous tech companies next week, then I will be furious. That I promise you, because it should not happen.
So what's your response there, Tyrone?
All right, first, let me warn you about Cramer. He actually has his own, well, he didn't create this, but he's wrong so often that they have what's called an inverse Cramer index that basically does the opposite of everything he says, okay, and they make money, okay?
Wow.
So that's who he is, all right? Look, I would encourage folk, don't try to get into this market timing. You don't know when the market's going to go up or down. So for the vast majority of people, staying the course is the right move. Okay. March of 2020, midst of COVID, market dropped 30%. 1 year later, it had recovered and had gained 80%. Okay. You don't know when to get in and when to get out. Just stay the course, dollar cost average along the way, and eventually you will win. Now, I had a lot of pushback to that in 2020. Oh, no, the stock market, the world is falling apart. So I said, okay, look, suppose it is the end of the world. My stocks won't mean anything anyway, right? So let me get in. And if it's not the end of the world, then I'm going to profit. And if it is, I guess I just won't be here, right? Either way, I can't lose. So that's the philosophy. People need to turn folk like Cramer off. Cramer is an entertainer. Now, he's got his own financial services thing going, but what's also important to understand is he's a trader. He does high frequency back and forth trades. This is not what most of America is doing. You're out there working. You don't have time to watch stock market, okay, 24/7. So get with your professional, calm down, okay? At the end of the day, if you got a bowl of beans on your table at the end of the day, you're going to be okay. Don't let these people drive you into making bad financial decisions, because at the end of the day, they're all millionaires, okay? Don't listen to these people. I'm telling you.
Yeah. Phil, I want to get your thoughts, because as I mentioned earlier, there are some Republicans that are coming across like they want to abandon ship. Now we have, and this is a friend of the show, Malik Abdul. He is a CNN contributor. He is a Republican, and he posted, this is photo 3 on Twitter today. China responds to the U.S. and we give them another ultimatum that must be corrected within hours, or we'll slap an additional 50% tariffs. At this point, I'm thinking Congress needs to claw back the ability for presidents to implement unilateral tariffs. This is way too arbitrary. So he's, of course, responding to what President Trump said, that he threatened on his Truth Social that he would give an additional 50% tariff if China doesn't reverse its actions. What's your response to that? These Republicans, which of course President Trump called Paniclublians or something like that, he called them. What's your response?
Well, so there are a lot of factors at play here. First of all, I think it is great that there's a lot of conversation about having Congress take more power back, because keep in mind, the people who are the most responsive to we the people are the members of Congress, because some of them we can throw out in 2 years and the rest we can throw out in 6 years. So that's a positive thing. But here's what to remember. Even during President Trump's first term and going back to Barack Obama, a lot of the stock market growth was in a relatively small number of companies, right? So that was a lot of the FANGs, the Magnificent Seven, the tech companies, beautiful tech companies that Jim Cramer was talking about. So while there was a lot of stock market growth, it was relatively concentrated. So that was one thing to think about. But the larger thing I want you to think about is that for a very long time, what we've been in is a market that is contrived by government. A lot of domestic policy has created the need for more free trade. And by the way, I am the world's biggest free trader. And if it were up to me, we would have tariffs only and no income tax, because the income tax is evil, justifiably evil. And just as an aside, if I could, I would take the people who collect it and the people who were proponents of it and put them under a prison in Guantanamo, but that's neither here nor there. I would like to point out, though, the market we've been in has been so contrived by these government policies and capital controls, which make it very difficult for anybody to invest in any company other than what's publicly traded. Therefore, as you unwind a lot of this with the tariffs, you're going to see some kind of dislocations. That said, I believe these dislocations are necessary, and we need to follow them up by removing a lot of the domestic barriers, non-tariff barriers that exist in this country that prevent us from building businesses here that are capable of participating in foreign trade, not to mention serving the domestic market.
Yeah. Well, economists from institutions like J.P. Morgan have raised the possibility or probability of the U.S. recession to 60% due to the tariffs. So, Tyrone, do you believe this is something that's coming?
We've had a recession. We've had a recession. The Biden administration hid it behind a whole lot of government hiring to pump up the jobs numbers in an inflationary way, and a whole lot of spending that added to the GDP. We printed up a lot of money, sent it overseas to Volodymyr Zelensky. So in effect, we technically have probably been in a recession for most of the Biden presidency. Now, the media will be also happy to actually report that.
Yeah.
For ages, the definition of a recession was 2 consecutive quarters of negative GDP growth. You can even go back on the Fed's charts. They made that definition in like the late 70s. The Fed liked it so much that they applied it retroactively back beyond that into the U.S. history. You could see it on their charts. But the media didn't want to report that. So if we have a recession, guess what? Americans have to start understanding there are opportunities to make a lot of money out here. One of those opportunities is a recession. When people get fearful with their money, it's time to start looking for opportunities to buy. And people need to get educated. We all know someone who can spout encyclopedic knowledge of sports, and they're not even in the industry, okay? Can tell you when Babe Ruth got the flu in the 1930s, but couldn't tell you how to go and buy a fractional share of stock if their life depended on it. That's a problem. And that's why the media is so able to manipulate people into thinking the sky is falling, when in actuality, there are opportunities all around. Okay. One quick note also, that legislator that suggested that Congress get involved in these tariffs, I'd like to ask him, can you get a veto-proof majority on that legislation, that bill? Who the hell is going to sign it if Donald Trump's in office? Okay, so more performance art this time from Republicans.
Yeah.
Right. Well, so I wanted to say, Tyrone, let me add something. Remember when we had the 2 consecutive quarters under Biden, what happened? The Treasury's, you know what? Yeah, no. We're not going to say the R word. We're not going to say recession. And the media followed right behind them.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I want to say, okay, I'm going to be the contrarian here. I'm going to come to Malik's defense a little bit. I have said many times, first of all, I don't think we would be here in this position if Congress actually did its job. If Congress did do the regulation for taxes like they're supposed to, the budgets, and then we would have known this could have been taken care of, years ago. But of course, politics does come into play. So Congress does have a role that I still think it's not living up to. Congress needs to regulate the purse like it's supposed to. And then the president wouldn't have to go off and make tariffs and reciprocal tariffs, whatever you call it. If Congress should know what we are sending out or what's coming in, because that's a part of the American budget. So again, I do agree with Malik on that particular point, that Congress needs to do its job.
Right. Agree. Yeah, absolutely. All right, folks. Well, again, we were talking about these tariffs. Tomorrow, definitely check out the All American Talk Show at 6:30 p.m. with Phil Bell, and Shelly is going to be a special guest host on there tomorrow. You do not want to miss it. Make sure you go to that YouTube at All American Talk and subscribe and hit that notification bell so you know when they go live. Final thoughts, Phil, before you leave tonight.
Well, I just want to say one more thing. Think about this. Remember, investing is really deciding where to allocate your money, right? So it can be in stocks, it can be in bonds, it can be in property. Some people are buying luxury watches, you name it. But the fact that we have so many restrictions on what you can invest in, how you can invest in, and so on, that's another thing that's really driven it. I always like to point out, when Paris Hilton turned 18, she could invest in anything she wanted just because her name was Paris Hilton. But almost anybody, actually, I don't know your financial situations, but I'm guessing most of us on this show, no matter how well we examine and prove that we know what we're getting into, we can't invest in whatever we want because the government shows up and tells us, oh, no, you can't. You can't do it. This stuff has got to go. We have got to have the ability to build America again so that we don't even have to have a conversation about tariffs. So we got to get to that, and we have to push our members of Congress to forget worrying about the shiny object and go and repeal all the laws that they have been putting on us decade after decade to slow down our ability to grow and build wealth in this country. And if we do that, it'll be beyond America's great golden age. It'll go on for more than a century.
All right. True. Absolutely. And we have a super chat here. Kung Fu CJ says, I am trying to be on the show, Phil.
Hey, well, Kung Fu CJ, we will put you on the show. Send me a direct message. We will make it happen.
All right. Very good then. Well, thanks again for tonight, Phil. And we will see you tomorrow at 6:30.
Thanks for having me on, and y'all have a great night.
All right. Absolutely, folks. So again, that is Phil Bell on the All American Talk Show. That's 6:30. You can find him on the YouTube channel, All American Talk, right here on the Metro Conservative Media platform. This is our sister show here on YouTube. Tomorrow at 6:30, Shelly E., our own, very own Shelly E., right there at the top, will be on with Phil tomorrow. You do not want to miss it. It is going to be fireworks. I can't wait. All right. So again, while you're here, make sure you like this broadcast and subscribe. If you haven't subscribed, definitely subscribe to tonight's broadcast. We still have more to come. All right. So want to change gears a little bit here and talk about the terrible stabbing in Texas at a Texas track meet. So we did talk about it a little bit on Friday. New information has come out. Well, I'm not going to say new information. The New York Post is reporting that there's a lot of fake news out there in response to this episode. So the FBI and cops are investigating the spread of fake social media posts about the death of Frisco, Texas high school football star Austin Metcalf, who authorities say was stabbed by a teen from a rival school at a track meet. The 17-year-old athlete and honor student died after he was knifed in the chest, allegedly by Carmelo Anthony, also 17, following an altercation. Metcalf's family said he had never met the other teen before and that the confrontation turned violent within seconds when Anthony pulled out a knife. Now, in the wake of the slaying, a spate of bogus accounts impersonating the local police chief and medical examiner's office have popped up, spreading falsehoods about his demise, including one fake viral post claiming Metcalf actually died from a drug overdose. Another fake post impersonating the Frisco police chief claimed that Metcalf was killed after beating Anthony repeatedly during mutual combat. None of these claims have been verified. So no type of nothing has been confirmed or even verified that this was brought up due to race. None of that. But we want to respond tonight to a segment on another one of our sister YouTube stations here, Just the Guys. So Just the Guys, you guys got to definitely check it out. They are live at 6 on Saturdays, right? And I want you to take a look at this clip where they're talking about the episode, and one of the gentlemen makes this this kind of radical comment about what occurred. This is clip 6.
No, because I definitely want to chime in on this. So first of all, the old man is a simp, right? Clearly, these kids are not raised with the father in the home. Clearly, as you can tell, that the parents are divorced. The kid is smart enough to know not to let the mom spill the beans in the interview. At least that shows that the brother who's alive understands the magnitude of the situation they're trapped in and how everyone's judging every little detail. But that being said, whether the father forgives or not, that's not how you do it. Like for me personally, like if you're going to do that, it's not about that. He did that for virtue signaling. He did not do that for meaningful, deep, emotional response to a traumatic incident of forgiveness and come to Jesus and all that. At least I don't believe so. He doesn't look like the type of guy. And based on the fact and how the rest of the family acts, I'm going to go with the fact that that guy is not that stand up. That being said, honestly, from where I sit, these are two of my future enemies taking themselves off the board early. So I'm not invested in who's right or who's wrong. Dude, that kid is as much a chance at being my problem later as a white nationalist as anything else. And that kid is a mop top kid. Dude, that's a what that the other kid is a mop top kid who immediately stabbed another kid as a response to an altercation. They are both high risk youths. I'm sorry. Everything that's come out about everyone involved makes me flag both of them now to worry about them later. So if they're taking themselves off the board right now, I'm with it. That's fine. I'm not invested in who's right or who's wrong and how this got started. But the fact is it looks like everybody's got blame on this. And you can say whatever you want. They got good grades.
Wow. So full disclosure, again, Just the Guys is our sister station here. We're friends with everybody that comes on there, but I thought that was pure disgusting. And not only that, the comments made, in my opinion, were just out of the blue. There have been no facts at all, no details that have been confirmed to come out and say definitely not the victim, the boy who was stabbed to death, that he was some high-risk youth. There's been no evidence that the father was not a stand-up guy. There's been no evidence that he was a white nationalist. What the hell are you talking about? I was so enraged by those statements. It was pure nonsense, and it was disgusting, and it was reckless. Yeah. Reckless.
Yeah. I wanted to correct some things too. Number one, I think the clip said that, you can tell they came from a broken home, whatever. Well, apparently, correction, the black kid, I'm sorry, his name, Anthony, Carmelo Anthony, and the white kid, both of them, well, the black kid certainly came from a mom and dad home, 2-parent family home. So I don't know where that came from. The Metcalf family, it's my suspicion that they are divorced. And it was just based on that little clip they showed with him telling his mom, like, don't say whatever he told his mom. But in no way, shape, or form does that imply that the father is not a stand-up guy, or even the mom for that matter. I don't know how we got from the victim being stabbed to death to now those two kids are just taking themselves off the face of the earth for his future comfort. I don't get that. I think in that same clip he was he was said, like, Tyrone, you can speak for yourself, but he said, you can't even make that far-fetched claim.
Yeah, I mean, it was diabolical. It was pure, unadulterated lack of any type of. I don't even have words. Nicole, well, Tyrone, I want to get you in this since you were there. Oh, you're
on
muted,
mute, Tyrone.
My contention here, and since this incident occurred, honestly, and I had a lot of discussion about this on Facebook. Some agreed, some disagreed. It's fine. I got to tell you, I was talking to my wife about this last night, and we were looking at the pictures of both of these boys, and we were just like saddened, okay, by the fact that neither will achieve their potential at this point. We got one that's more than likely going to spend a substantial amount of time in prison, one that's not going to do anything anymore because he's deceased. I don't, you got, and I brought this point up on the show. As young men, we've all been there, you know, in terms of high testosterone. They're in some athletic type of environment, okay? I don't know why the young man felt compelled to bring a knife to that venue, because actually legally that is prohibited. So that's going to make it very, very difficult for him legally. And he came out and told the cops. He said, I did it. Okay. So beyond that, we're going to have to wait for a trial. I think that we got to guard against becoming so callous that we can't see that these two have some potential. Call me what you will, but when I look at both of them, I see, hey, maybe they go on and be very productive. That's my default. All right. If that doesn't happen, okay, that's another story. But hell,
how can you get to flag them both, taking themselves off the board?
Well, let me just
both high risk youth. Where are we getting this from?
Right. Let me say this. Okay, I grew up in West Baltimore, in an area where, quite frankly, demographically, you could peg me as a high risk youth. You know, at growing up, right? Now I never got into trouble or anything like that, but just my environment. A lot of guys did, unfortunately. But on the show, I expressed my disagreement with that, and I remain there, and I just remain saddened by the whole thing. One guy's dead, and the other guy's going to prison. And look, there's nothing romantic about becoming a ward of the state as a prisoner in the United States of America. Okay, so it's just tragic.
I want to get your thoughts on that exchange. I mean, have we lost our humanity? I mean, for somebody to look at what occurred just off of what we saw, a white boy and a black boy, but do we always have to go to race? You know, he's a white nationalist just because he lives in Texas, and I don't understand where he got that take from.
I think we're desensitized. I think all of us are desensitized to violence. I think this one particular story, though, hits really hard for the men folk, right? Because I think to a large degree, they can see how this could have played out in a different way. So when Tyrone is talking about the tragedy of this, it's much greater than what we see on the surface. And a lot of people are kind of reading into their own details and bringing their own little pieces in. But Tyrone is right. When you take a look at this story, what we have is absolute tragedy all the way around. There is no happy spot. Nobody's shining. You know, what the mother's doing, if she's got a boyfriend, not a boyfriend, with the daddy, not the daddy, all of that notwithstanding, we have one young man that's dead. His twin is left here to bear the witness. And a young man that's going to go quite literally to living hell, likely for the rest of his life, over something that should have been two punches thrown in the stomach, maybe a 2-piece to the head. That's what that should have been. So that, I think it brings up these emotions that we really haven't dealt with in a society about being desensitized to violence. I mean, just today, some crazy guy, you know, I think it was in New Jersey, was hacking his nieces with a cleaver. Just hacking them, no reason, just chopping the girls up. And the brother went and called 911. We've gotten to a point where violence is such an expected part of our day to day that it kind of like, okay, right. So these are just two people that I don't have to worry about protecting myself or my family from. We're not seeing it from a human perspective, but literally we're up to here with it. We're up to here with the Jordan Neelys of the world. You know, that they're so mentally ill, their families won't take them in, but love them to death from afar, but they're out here terrorizing the rest of us. And we pretend like we don't see it, and we pretend like it doesn't hurt, and we pretend like we don't feel it. And this is what happens. There'll be one case that brings everybody's emotions bubbling up to the top, and the loss of these two young men. Because trust and believe, the surviving young man, the young man who's alleged to do the stabbing, his life is over too.
I want to just say this because, you know, again, many of us here are born and raised in Baltimore City, as was I. And I certainly don't look, thanks to the great goodness and grace of God, what I have been through and done in my youth. I was suspended multiple times from high school for fighting. I carried around a knife, but guess what? The knife I carried around had brass knuckles on it, and it opened up into a knife. I know I've been in more fights as a child, as a youth, than you can imagine. Am I proud of it? No. I was arrested for fighting. You know, I have been in fights with weapons and things like that. I thank God that nothing that I did in my youth ended up with the severe injury, because people were injured, but severe injury or even death of someone else. I thank God for it. It's nothing but the goodness of God and the favor over my life that has gotten me out of a lot of situations. So, you know, so when you see something like this, and, you know, you see young people, again, as we mentioned on Friday, this thing can happen. This has happened all over the place at track meets all over the country. Boys going to be boys. You're in my space. Get up. I just don't understand where we got from looking at that to these are high risk youth, flag them both now, taking themselves off the board now. I don't understand how we got there.
I think part of it, I'm like Nicole said, desensitization. I think it's also to a degree, what did I write down here? Sanctimony and self-righteousness. And I think it's a part of self-preservation in that I want to preserve whatever it is right now for me and for my family. And that's all I'm thinking about. And that's fine to think about your family. I'm not saying that. But it's also a sense of protecting yourself so much that you can't even relate and connect with a young person to show that you care. And maybe, just maybe, you can guide that young person, hopefully, on a different path. You're so hardened to a degree. Again, and I'm not saying this because we love Gimpy, we know Gimpy, or like you said, Sister Shaw. I'm not saying this directed at him, but I think this is all of these things might play a part in it, and that goes for any of us, that we can become so hardened, so cut off, if you will, because of the horrible things that happen, to the point where we can't imagine how can good and evil and love and hate and good and bad coexist. Well, guess what? They have been existing since the beginning of time. And it's still up to us to find a way, if you will, to live out a purpose, to instill a sense of purpose in the generations that are coming after us, and still demonstrate what goodness is, what beauty is in the midst of all the evil and chaos.
And get offline, folks. You get out in the world and get around young people. Then if you get around young people in your area, you're out and about, because this online provides a false sense of reality. It's the worst of the worst that you encounter, generally speaking, online. And so if you try to gauge life, gauge people from what you are encountering online, you're going to be lost. You're going to hate life.
for my wife has a sister, and we always talk about the way in which they were raised as opposed to how me and my brothers were raised. Okay. And we compare and contrast. And I think that there do need to be a lot of nuances there. I know when we left the house, the message we always got was, don't waste your one phone call on this house. Okay. The other thing is, I think young men need to be sat down and made to understand, listen, you've got a variety of choices you're going to make throughout the day. With each choice, think about some alternatives that could happen as a result of that choice. Okay. Run that through your mind in the seconds before you act. So if it's getting in a car drunk, okay, if it's what will happen if I take this knife to this event and someone finds me with it? Or will I be compelled to use this? You know, how would that? I always tell people this because I'm always the designated driver. I drink at home. I don't need to drink outside. But I always tell people, you drink and drive. Well, you go out here and you don't drink, and you're coming home from a venue and you have a fender bender. Okay, that's one thing. But now, say you've had a few drinks and you have that exact same fender bender. Now it's a whole different ball game. So young men need to be taught, listen, don't act so impulsively. Okay. You've got to think about your actions, because one action you commit at, what are these guys, 17, could just destroy the next 70 years of your life. Okay. So, you know, you can't pull that stuff back once it's out there. You can't pull it back.
Right. Yeah, folks, and I see we have Gimpy here saying go watch, and we played the sound bite. So, but definitely you can rewind this. Definitely check out Just the Guys.
Yes.
You know, and you can watch the whole segment, the whole show, actually, as I did. It was just the show that just played on Saturday. Yep, yes, definitely watch the whole show, and maybe you'll come out with something, a different reaction, a different response than we did. I don't know how, because we just literally played the segment, but okay. But we got to move on, folks. Again,
well, let me say one quick thing. I think one other important thing we've learned is, do not borrow money from KJ, and if you do, God, please pay it back. Okay.
No, man. You got them knuckles. She's coming for that ass. She's coming.
I'm saying.
KJ Soprano.
I'm saying, you gotta understand. I think me and Allie here, we are kindred spirits. I think, you know, I'm the oldest of 4. Okay, so, you know, coming up, you know, a lot of these battles weren't even mine, but it was like somebody's messing with my sisters or whatever. Go get her. Go get, you know, KJ. She's, you know, KJ. This person did this to me. This person did that to me. So, again, you know, but I'm an old person now. I'm a mother. I'm a wife, and I'm not out here fighting anymore. You know, so yeah.
Wait, just in case. Somebody swing on you on a man on the street interview.
Right. I mean, like I said Friday, I stand on this. Exactly. And I think we all,
ma'am.
We're waiting for when we're doing these man on the streets. I'm not surprised if somebody is gonna haul off and try to hit us or whatever. I'm expecting it. So it's just like we always trying to like do something, you know. I personally would have cut that interview before she got to that. I would have cut it. But thank God for Savannah. As I said, you know, I mean, she's doing the work out there, and she's bringing it to the masses about what's going on in these leftist circles, these leftist spaces. And I thank God for her bravery. And a lot, and even though it feels like so many people are responding to that video, we have somebody a heckler in the chat doing it too, and it feels like a lot of people are maybe negatively responding. We get the pro-life response, and then like we're seeing all these people, the pro-abortion response. I think there are more people than we know or realize that saw it and was like, wow, this woman is off. You know, maybe I should think about my stance on abortion. I never thought about it like that. You know, what Savannah said, you know, this is what I do. Do I feel the same way about killing children in foster care? You know, so I think a lot of people, more people than we think, thought about that, and it may have changed some minds. I think
at least planted a seed.
Yeah, absolutely.
At least planted the seed. But beyond the content, you know, for people who are new into politics, people who want to do create content where they're talking to people on the street, you have to learn just a little bit of psychology. And when people are starting to escalate, you either need to learn de-escalation techniques where you can just kind of walk them back a bit. 2, you need to stop the interview, say thank you very much, you know, for the information, and go on to the next one. Or 3, learn to throw some hands. Those are your options, and that's just real. You cannot be someone who is in a situation where you cannot use your wit, your words, or your physical body to protect yourself. So it is dangerous when you're talking about incendiary topics with people cold off the street. You don't know what kind of day they're having or any of these kind of things. Sometimes the better course of action is just to walk away from the interview.
Yeah. Whatever happened to, like, Tyrone, your parents told you don't waste your one phone call. I mean, I heard that too, right? But whatever happened to just telling, keep your hands to yourself?
Yes.
And let somebody put their hands on you. Keep your hand to yourself.
Yeah, that's what I was about. You know, keep your hands to yourself. Oh my gosh. So, all right, we're going to continue to follow that story, and follow the story also of Austin Metcalf. We want to continue to follow that and see where this leads. Again, in this same scenario, we pray that justice is served. So, speaking of nutty leftists, Byron Donalds had a crazy exchange just recently. This may have happened today. So you guys know that he is running for office in Florida. He is running to be the next governor. When is the actual race? Do you know that, Nicole?
We got time. It's a year from now.
A year from now. Okay. Okay. Yes. But he had a crazy exchange with a group of leftists. And I thought this was very interesting. I wanted you guys to see this. Let me see here. Let's see here. I want to share my screen. 1 second. This was crazy.
But as a member of Congress, because I was just in DC on Monday for Trans-State Visibility, and I would like you, as a member of Congress, to rise up and support LGBTQ plus youth and stop this fucking insane attack on our children who know who they are.
Number one,
no. Of course you're not, because you're a fascist. You're a trace. You're a race traitor, and you're a fascist.
I said I don't agree, and then you start yelling at me. You call me a fascist. You call me a race traitor, and you want me to agree with you? What are you talking about, ma'am? I'm a constitutionalist. Ma'am, I'm a constitutionalist. I believe in freedom and liberty for everybody. I believe in the U.S. Constitution. I believe in everybody's citizen rights. But if I don't agree, hold on. But when I don't agree with you, then all of a sudden I'm a fascist. That's what's wrong. If all you want to do is yell and scream and curse when I don't agree with you, I'm sorry, ma'am. You are now in the 20% of America.
You don't need to worry, because you will never get my vote, and you don't live here.
I'm going to be your governor. Trust me.
You're not. No, you're not.
Yes, I am.
Yeah. Okay, so Nicole, this is what we're talking about. You can't have a rational conversation with these people. No,
No, there's not, especially people who've taken the day off to come out in the middle of the afternoon to protest about a protest, and then call the people who show up to the protest dirty names. There's just a certain segment of the population, and you hear Byron tell her that you're part of the 20%, right? The 80% of America's got it. You're part of the 20%, and I'm not going to waste any more time. We also saw Senator Jim Banks, maybe last week. He's rushing in the Senate to go to do the business that he was elected to do, and he's accosted in the hallway by some guy who was fired by HHS and his merry band of other fired people, trying to get a soundbite or go viral. Well, boy, did he get a soundbite.
Yes, he did.
He got a soundbite and a half, and then I think yesterday, Senator Banks doubled down on it. He was like, "Look, a clown is a clown is a clown is a clown. Play with me. You deserve to be fired, sir. They created a job for you to serve no purpose." And you can't believe that. Yeah, you're a clown. Doors closed.
And did you see how the elevator doors closed like perfectly? So okay.
They hit him with that meme where they put the
curtain call.
Like, hey. So there are a lot of leftists who are doing what they think they're doing to quote unquote resist or strike a blow. And all they're doing is race baiting. All they're doing is trying to agitate. They want him to say something that's going to be so egregious that they can smear it and slap it all over everything. But what she doesn't know is that Byron is a professional. He's absolutely professional. He's been on both sides of that argument, right? He's been the guy out protesting. He's been the young man that needed a helping hand. And now he's on the upswing. And he's like, listen, I'm going to be your governor. You better get used to me. You better get used to it.
Yeah. Shelley, what are your thoughts on that exchange? I mean,
I'm still trying to figure out what the argument was about or supposed to be about. Something about LGBTQ, whatever, the alphabet people. That's number one. I want people to get definitions correct, at least understand what it is you are arguing for or against. I'm sick of these people, mostly on the left, who call everyone a fascist, a dictator, a tyrant. They don't even know what the meanings are. They don't understand what fascism is or what a fascist is. You are representing what a fascist is when you want the state to back and support everything that you advocate for, and you think that that's what's supposed to happen. But I don't understand that. These people are loony. They are nutty. I think they're dangerous to a large degree. But Byron, again, it was no sense of arguing, really, because she wasn't out there to have a civil debate, informative debate. Even if she walked away disagreeing, that's not what she was there for. She was there because the cameras were rolling. She had her signs up, and she wanted all of that on. And this went around the world in an hour, whatever. I mean, it's stupid. It's foolish. Like you said, in the middle of the day, these people have nothing better to do than to go out and call people names that they don't even understand what the meaning of the words are.
The wonderful thing about it is it did go around the world, but it didn't get the buzz that she thought it was going to get. When you take a look at the visuals, if you turn the sound off and just take a look at the visuals, you see a well-dressed Black man who's running for governor of that state. So you have that in your mind. And you see this unhinged, unwashed woman holding a bunch of signs, shaking her hand and her fist at him, and he's standing his ground. If nothing says Republican more than that, man, we should slap that on a t-shirt and sell it across this great nation. This is a man who's standing his ground. And it doesn't matter how much you yell, how much you scream, the temper tantrums you throw, the color you make your hair. America is going to be American. And we're going to stand on it. You can be just as crazy as you want to. We're not going to fold for you. We're just not. Those days are well behind us. It was a good look for Byron.
It was a great look. Tyrone, what are your thoughts on that exchange? I mean, do you think this is driven by the media's misinformation and their propaganda and bias against President Trump and MAGA?
I tell you, even though mainstream media is in its death throes, they're still pretty influential because there's a large portion of the population that has been convinced that it's a bad thing to force the government to be better stewards of their taxpayer dollars. Okay. You've got people who are driving up to Tesla protest in Mercedes Benz and BMWs. Okay. And if you don't know what I'm referring to, there are pictures of a man with a little mustache riding around
of Mercedes Benz
in Volkswagens. And it's like, man, this is some bizarre
no idea
stuff. Okay. So and then when you do have these occasional man on the street interviews that actually try to delve into why these people are out there, none of them ever had, I won't say none. I did see one guy. He wasn't at a protest. He was just a random guy, and he was a classical liberal, and he was not unhinged. He was able to articulate himself. He was not mean-spirited. And I'm like, damn. And he said, well, yeah, in many ways, today's Democrat Party is unrecognizable from the one that I joined. And it was an older gentleman, looked like somebody that came up through the like Kennedy years. So he was like, yeah, but he was measured. He was thoughtful. But by and large, that's not what you're finding at all. You're finding people that are looking a lot like some folk who drove around in Mercedes Benzes in the 30s, the 1930s. Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. And, I saw a comment on here, I think it was by Peter, who said something like, mainstream media don't really know what MAGA is. And one of the things it is America first. When can we get back to America first? And it starts by identifying as Americans. That's it. And that brings us to Raven Simone. So recently, this is a recent interview. I think it was like last week. Raven Simone was being interviewed, and she doubled down on her comments that she made many years ago about being identified as an American. This is clip 5. Take a look.
We should note, again, you and I have said this on the air many times, there is no evidence that Joe Biden was, involved in any wrongdoing.
Of course, want to note that there is no evidence that Joe Biden or Hunter Biden has done anything wrong. I just want to reiterate.
And let's be clear for the viewers.
There is no evidence Biden did anything wrong.
Governor, you got a second?
Literally talking to the president right now to specifically answer the question of what we can do for you and your daughter.
Can I hear it? Can I hear your call? Because I don't believe it.
This is why independent media is so important. Thanks to people like you, patriots who love America and stand for truth, we're making a difference. Together, we've turned them off, called them out for their lies and propaganda, and held them accountable for their disdain for God-fearing, freedom-loving Americans like us. But we can't stop here. It's time to take action with our dollars. Let's make 2025 the year we double down on our commitment to values-driven choices. Vote with your dollars. Support Made in America. Back companies that honor our families, faith, and country. We found an exciting way to make this switch, and we want you to join us. Check out www.popandswitch.com and click Yes, I Want to Make the Switch. It's that easy. It's time to walk away from corporations like BlackRock and Vanguard that undermine our principles. Let's invest in America. Let's support businesses that share our love for this country. You don't have to take on everything at once, but you can start here. Join us in making this one small yet powerful step. Visit www.popandswitch.com. Click the link and schedule a call with our team to learn how you can make the switch. Together, we can create real change.
I am not an African American, I'm an American. I am a Black American, I am definitely Black, and yes, my ancestors come from Africa. How long does a bloodline have to live in one land before they are considered a pure species of that land? Meaning, how long did my people have to be in America to say, hey, no, we're American, compared to some people who are English American, who are Irish American, who are German American from their ancestors, but they get to call themselves American. There's nothing wrong with being African American, but a true African American is someone that is from Africa and moved here, either first generation or second generation, and has a tied to that country that I do not have. One of the first census in Virginia that allowed for Black people to have a name was somebody from my family. So that means they were there long before.
There we go. There we go. Before we get into this, I want to acknowledge our super chatters here. Thank you all so much. Let's see here. We have Simone with the $10 super chat. Says the left is so angry and evil. I am so ashamed of myself that I once voted Democrat. And to that I say, lefty, bye. Well, don't be ashamed, Simone. I've been there, I've been there. Yeah. So we just, better, you do better. That's what my mom used to say. And she always also said, and forward we go. So there we are. Yes, indeed. So I think that's everything. And folks, we have a goal tonight. I know I'm saying this kind of late. I should have said it earlier, but we are trying to get 15 green super chats. 15 green super chats. So if you have it in your heart to help us meet that goal, please go ahead and put super chat with the green super chats. We're trying to get 15 green super chats. Thank you guys so much. All right. So let's get into this. Shelly, what are your thoughts on what Raven Simone said?
I'm going to start that answer by saying first, just, to Raven Simone, not Black, not white, American. And you can purchase the same mug and other items at poppinpoliticslive.com and go to the shop link. We have merchandise like this that speaks exactly to what we're talking about. So go ahead and get your mug. And then, hey, cheers to all of us. Number one. Number two, I'm about 10 years older, maybe a little bit more older than Raven Simone. And what she said, I've been saying for at least 30 years. So this is nothing new to me. I've been saying it to the point where when I used to say it or started saying it, I even had conservatives were like, oh, you can't say that, whatever, right? Because I don't know why, but it didn't bother me. But I've been calling myself an American. I've said many years, I'm not African American. I don't take that away from people who are African American. I was born here. I say that I'm a Native American because I was born on United States soil. Thank you, Lord. So I own that. I've been saying that for decades. Nothing new here. And number three, one of the reasons I started saying it is when I started learning, number one, about this concept or this construct of race, that there's only one race, the human race. It's not a Black race or a white race. Yes, we have different skin tones, ethnicities, cultures, groups, tribes, if you will, but there's only one race of humans, and that's what we are. And ultimately, if you were to look at our DNA, our DNA across the board, across the gamut, is about 99.99% the same, no matter what culture, tribe, or whatever you come from. It's about 99% the same. So human race, I'm with Raven Simone in this instance. I'm an American. I'm a Native American. I was born here.
All right. Nicole, what are your thoughts to what Raven Simone said, even though she's a leftist?
Even though she's a leftist, but she, in this instance, she's really put a lot of thought into this, and she's right. When you take a look at how other migrant communities that came to the United States have dropped off the German American, the Polish American, and they're just Americans, when will it be time for us to drop it? When will it be time for Americans of African American ancestry just to be Americans? Once we get there, when will we become good Americans, right? When we won't be so emotional, where words don't compel you to punch someone in the face. All of those things that mean we grow up and take our rightful place in this society, right? I agree with her 100%. I'm an American first, straight up and down. And I got my other cup, Shelly, because I try to keep them handy. You write this right here. I'm an American first, American of African ancestry. Of course, a lot of people have issues with that because they want to be Black first, but I want to be a good American first and let everything else fall in its place.
All right. Absolutely. Tyrone, what's your response to Raven Simone? Spitting some knowledge.
I think it's good anytime anyone starts to question a narrative that has been, foisted on society. So bravo to her for doing that. I think that I agree with Shelley. I'm an American, okay, and I believe Nicole said the same thing. I've never been to Africa, and I want to say something else. You know, when you talk about this kinship we're supposed to have with Africa, if you go back far enough in your history, you could find that you were the descendant of someone who Africa said, we're going to put you in bondage and then sell you. Okay. So I never understood where this whole, kinship was. If you're going to rightfully criticize and castigate those who had you in bondage over here, why isn't the same rationale being applied to those who put you in bondage over there? Because it wasn't a slave war from the standpoint of the Europeans purchasing slaves. It was a slave trade. Okay. So all I know is America. All right. And maybe one day I'll visit parts of Africa. It's not how I'm a list. Okay. So that's how I feel about it. So yeah, bravo to Raven. I agree with her.
Yeah. I'd like to visit, Africa one day. I really would like to. There are some beautiful countries on the continent of Africa, and I would like to visit someday. But that being said, you all are right. I totally agree with each of you 100%. And Nicole, I think it was Nicole or Shelley, brought up a good point about you have people who have Italian descendants, German descendants, Irish descendants that immigrated here many, many, many years ago, and they don't call themselves Irish Americans, Italian Americans. They're Americans. Now, when it comes around to that time of year, Italian Day or Irish Day or St. Patrick's Day, you might see people waving the Irish flag, which is fine. But for the most part, these people identify as American. And this is what the MAGA movement, the America First movement, is all about. You see people on the left asking, well, when was America great? And all of this type of stuff. Well, it's been great. It was great in 2016. It was great, a little bit before that. So, I mean, again, it was great. Actually, when you look at what Black people, we talked about this in the last segment, as far as families, the strength of families, the strength of marriage, it was actually great during the Reconstruction period.
Yeah,
absolutely.
So, there it is. So we got to get back to it. We got a super chat here. Coley, she's super chatting for Rico. Says Gimpy with the $5 super chat. Yeah, Gimpy love. Yes. And so again, we don't cut any. What is it? Cut cards. We don't cut cards.
Corners.
Corners. Yeah. Well, is it corners? Yeah.
We have to. Well, okay. It's the pizza that cuts corners. What's that? Lito's pizza. We got
right. Yeah, I mean, we're pretty, well, what they're saying on the streets is anybody can get it. So anybody can get it here.
Wait, Gangster KJ on the show tonight. My goodness.
Even our brothers on Just the Guys. If we disagree, we call it out. But I definitely think you guys should watch that show. It was a great show overall. Interesting conversations they had this past Saturday. You got to check it out. Just the Guys right here on YouTube, and make sure you hit that subscribe button and the notification bell so you know when they go live. It's live every Saturday at 6:30 p.m. They are radical. They are salacious. So definitely check them out. And it comes from a male perspective. Tyrone is part of the show. So it was a great show. Definitely, I encourage you all to take a look and watch it. So that does it for us tonight, folks. So don't forget, tomorrow at 6:30, the All-American Talk Show will feature our very own Shelley. Shelley E will be on the All-American Talk Show. You do not want to miss it. They are going to break down the trending news of the day. There's going to be a lot of news out tomorrow, especially regarding immigration. Folks, if you saw breaking news that came out this evening, the Supreme Court lifted its order blocking Trump from deporting Venezuelans under the Aliens Enemies Act. So I'm sure they're going to dig into that. What are the outcomes regarding that? What will be the effects of that? Was it a total good thing, or did they not, miss the mark on some other things? So definitely check out the All American Talk Show tomorrow at 6:30. When you finish watching here tonight, go on over there, hit that subscribe button and the notification bell so you know and you are alerted when they go live. We don't give too many notifications on that, but you will see it.
Hey Jay, can I say something real quick?
Yes, please.
The left is trying to get this notion started that tariffs started the Great Depression. That is a lie. Okay.
Wow.
The crash of 1929 happened in October of 29.
Right.
The Smoot-Hawley Tariff Act was not signed until mid-1930. The Great Depression had nothing to do with tariffs. It was started by out of control stock speculation and called bank loans. Okay, not tariff. Somebody tried to come at me with that, and I'm like, now you're just making shit up. Okay, that's a lie. So to the audience, if somebody's out there saying that crap, educate them.
Thank you, Tyrone. Thank you. Absolutely. And that's what we're here to do, folks. Again, please continue to like, share, and if you have it in your heart to super chat, we do have a goal tonight of hitting 15 green super chats. So if you're watching the rebroadcast of this, you certainly can super chat and help us meet our goal. That goal is set up until Wednesday. So on this actual broadcast, we're going to see if we're able to hit our goal of 15 green super chats. So please help us out with that. It certainly helps to keep us on YouTube, delivering this unabashed, bold, conservative content. Also, if you're tired of the mainstream narrative and want the truth without spin, do me a favor and hit that like button if you haven't done so. Subscribe and share this segment with someone who needs to hear it. Again, we're building bold, unapologetic community that stands for faith, freedom, and common sense, and your support helps us grow. And don't forget our merch. If you want to rep the movement, check us out. You can go to www.popandpoliticslive.com. Every purchase helps us fight back and speak louder. So that's the link, www.popandpoliticslive.com/shop. All right. Yes. So you don't just watch, engage, share, and gear up. We're here to make some noise. All right. That does it for us tonight. Guys, thank you guys so much. Until next time, count your blessings and live a life of purpose. Good night.
Good night.